The sound of screeching tires echoed across the rain-soaked highway just before the luxury black sedan spun out of control and slammed into a roadside barrier. Within seconds, frightened drivers slowed down, but no one dared step into the pouring rain. Then, from the opposite side of the road, an ordinary young man wearing a worn-out construction jacket threw down his lunch bag and sprinted toward the wrecked car without thinking about his own safety. He had no idea that the woman trapped inside would completely change the course of his life. Sometimes destiny doesn't arrive with flowers or celebrations. Sometimes it arrives with shattered glass, pouring rain, and a heartbeat that refuses to give up. Before we continue this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected love, please like this video, share it with your friends, leave a comment, and subscribe to the Unfolded Story Hub channel so you never miss another unforgettable story. Ethan Brooks was 29 years old and had spent most of his adult life trying to survive rather than dream. After losing both of his parents in his early 20s, he worked countless temporary jobs to pay rent and support his younger sister through college. His hands were rough from years of hard labor, his clothes were simple, and his life rarely offered anything beyond long shifts and lonely evenings. That rainy afternoon, he had been walking back to work after buying the cheapest sandwich he could afford when fate placed the accident directly in front of him. Ignoring the danger, he forced open the damaged driver's door and carefully helped the unconscious woman out moments before smoke began rising from the engine. By the time emergency responders arrived, Ethan was soaked, bruised, and exhausted, but he quietly disappeared before anyone could thank him. The woman he had rescued was Victoria Bennett, the 35-year-old CEO of one of the city's fastest-growing architectural companies. Known throughout the business world for her intelligence, discipline, and impossible standards, Victoria had built her company from almost nothing after losing her own father years earlier. Success had made her respected, but it had also made her lonely. She trusted contracts more than people and believed emotions only distracted leaders from making difficult decisions. While recovering in the hospital, she insisted on discovering the identity of the stranger who had saved her life. Security cameras eventually led her to Ethan. Instead of accepting a reward, Ethan politely refused every offer of money. He simply smiled and explained that anyone would have done the same. Victoria knew that wasn't true. Hundreds of people had watched from a distance while one stranger risked everything. Curious about the quiet man who expected nothing in return, she invited him to visit her office. Ethan almost declined because he owned only one decent shirt and felt completely out of place among glass towers, expensive suits, and polished marble floors. But his sister convinced him that opportunities rarely knock twice. The interview surprised them both. Ethan had no university degree, but years of working construction had taught him practical engineering skills, problem-solving, and teamwork. Victoria noticed something even more valuable than experience. Whenever Ethan answered a question, he spoke honestly instead of trying to impress her. She offered him an entry-level facilities coordinator position within her company. Although the salary was modest, it was more stable than anything he had ever known. Ethan accepted with quiet gratitude, promising himself that he would earn every dollar. The first weeks were far from easy. Many employees assumed Ethan had received special treatment because he had rescued the CEO. Whispers followed him through hallways, and some co-workers openly questioned whether he belonged there. Ethan never defended himself. He simply arrived earlier than everyone else, stayed later than required, and completed every task with patience. Victoria watched from a distance. She never interfered because she believed character revealed itself under pressure. Day after day, Ethan proved that integrity could outlast gossip. As months passed, unexpected moments slowly brought them closer together. Victoria often worked late into the night, skipping meals while reviewing projects worth millions of dollars. Ethan occasionally noticed untouched coffee growing cold on her desk or lights still glowing in her office long after everyone had gone home. Without expecting recognition, he quietly left fresh coffee outside her door or reminded the security team to make sure she ate something before midnight. These tiny acts of kindness slowly broke through the walls Victoria had spent years building around her heart. For Ethan, however, growing close to his boss created painful confusion. He admired her determination, respected her strength, and gradually realized his feelings had become something much deeper. Yet every logical thought reminded him how impossible those emotions were. She belonged to a world of luxury dinners, international meetings, and influential investors, while he still worried every month about paying bills. He buried his feelings beneath professionalism, convincing himself that gratitude had simply been mistaken for love. Victoria faced her own silent battle. She had spent years avoiding emotional attachments because every important relationship in her past had ended in disappointment or betrayal. Yet Ethan's quiet honesty challenged everything she believed about people. Unlike executives who constantly sought her approval, Ethan never treated her wealth or position differently from anyone else. He respected her, disagreed respectfully when necessary, and never expected favors. For the first time in years, Victoria felt seen not as a powerful CEO but as an ordinary woman carrying invisible scars. Their growing connection attracted unwanted attention. Members of the company board worried that rumors about the CEO's friendship with an employee might damage the company's reputation. Investors began asking uncomfortable questions, and ambitious executives saw an opportunity to weaken Victoria's leadership. Some even spread false stories claiming Ethan had manipulated the accident to gain influence. The accusations devastated him. Rather than defending himself publicly, Ethan submitted his resignation, believing that leaving would protect Victoria's career from further damage. When Victoria found the resignation letter resting on her desk, something inside her finally broke. She realized she had spent years protecting her reputation while risking the loss of the one person who had never wanted anything from her except honesty. Instead of accepting the resignation, she launched a complete internal investigation. Security footage, witness statements, and official police reports proved beyond doubt that Ethan had acted selflessly on the day of the accident. The rumors collapsed almost overnight, and those responsible for spreading lies were held accountable. Although Ethan was cleared, he still planned to leave quietly. He believed the company deserved peace, even if it meant sacrificing his own happiness. On his final evening, he stood alone on the rooftop overlooking the city skyline, remembering the rainy afternoon that had changed everything. Victoria joined him there, not as a CEO addressing an employee but as a woman finally willing to confront her own fears. Looking across the glowing city lights, she admitted that surviving the accident had saved more than her life. It had reminded her that success meant very little without someone genuine to share it with. Ethan understood then that love had not grown from power or wealth. It had grown from compassion, respect, and countless quiet moments that neither of them had planned. Instead of leaving, Ethan remained with the company under a newly structured role that reported through another executive, ensuring complete professionalism and transparency. Together they worked to build a healthier workplace where kindness mattered as much as performance. Employees who had once judged Ethan began respecting him, not because of his relationship with Victoria, but because of the example he set every single day. Their story became a reminder throughout the company that true leadership begins with humanity. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who still believes in genuine kindness, and subscribe to the Unfolded Story Hub channel for more emotional stories that remind us hope still exists in the world. Before we reach the end, tell us in the comments, do you believe true love can begin with one selfless act of kindness? Years later, Ethan would often think back to the sound of crashing metal and falling rain that had once seemed like the worst moment imaginable. Without that accident, two lonely lives would have continued traveling separate roads forever. Instead, one act of courage transformed pain into purpose, strangers into partners, and gratitude into lasting love. Their journey proved that life's greatest blessings rarely arrive when everything goes according to plan. Sometimes the most beautiful chapters begin exactly where we believe everything has fallen apart, reminding us that kindness has the extraordinary power to change not only one life but countless others forever.